All right, hello everybody. I'm Brian, and this is AAMI News and Conversation. We're here during Sterilization Standards Week 2025, and I'm with Jami and McLaren, who is a co-chair, and you're representing Working Group 96 today, which is excitedly one of our recipients for the Technical Committee Award. So congratulations to Working Group 96. I know you guys put in a lot of hard work recently, and one of those things that we're really recognizing today is the hard work towards TIR17. This is a new technical information report. Our viewers have probably heard a lot about it, but why don't you tell me just very shortly what that's all about?
Absolutely, yeah. The title of TIR17 is Compatibility of Materials Subject to Sterilization. And as you just mentioned, we just released a new revision after about a 3-year process.
Yeah.
Some of the big improvements to this new revision where we streamlined the overall content, got rid of some of the stuff that was relevant, but maybe not super specific. We added material on how to address material compatibility when you are changing sterilization modalities or optimizing your existing sterilization modalities. But probably most significantly, we completely rebuilt the compatibility tables at the end of the TIR. For those who may not be familiar with those tables or the TIR in general, a big chunk of this TIR is just tables with lists of many tens of materials and their compatibility ratings with each of the sterilization modalities in scope, which is up to 9 modalities now. And we discovered that that was the most used portion of the TIR,
Yeah.
and that some of the information in there was maybe a little bit old, maybe not super traceable. So it was a great effort to basically completely rebuild those, and going forward, these will serve as a very useful resource for manufacturers that need to understand compatibility of their device materials with their sterilization modalities.
And we'll be sure to put a link in the description of this video that is showing people where they can get this standard if they don't know about it, how they can learn more. But one of the cool things about this story in particular is that TIR17 has always been a popular technical information report. Like you said, we just learned though that the those tables, that part of it that was the most usable. So this is a revision it's not even to help people adopt the standard in the first place, but to use it more effectively, which I think is that's a great reason to have a revision of this extent. So that's really cool, and people could learn more about it in the link in the description. But I wanted to talk about next steps now, since we've been talking about TAR17 for I think a couple years at this point. We were excited about it for quite a while, so people can watch those videos too. But there's a lot more going on within this working group. You guys have been putting a lot of hard work towards a new technical information report. What is that all about?
Yeah, yeah. And real quick, before we talk about the new TIR, I
Yeah.
do want to just make sure I acknowledge all of the people who did so much work for this revision of TIR 17. The task group really had to do many, many hours of work, largely kind of digging up resources, whether they be brand new or some of them maybe decades old
Yeah.
that maybe had been, lost or unorganized. And so I just want to make sure that the task group that worked on there gets the credit they deserve,
Of
because
course.
we could not have done this without all of those people. So yeah, looking forward. So to this point, Working Group 96 has basically been primarily and only responsible for TIR 17. About a year and a half ago, at the end of one of our meetings when, people asked, is there any other business? Someone brought up the idea that, there isn't really a good resource out there that represents kind of existing technology, both sterilization and materials, with respect to how materials retain sterilant residuals. So this is a big part when you're qualifying a device for sterility. You have to make sure that your device contains or does not contain amounts of residuals that are going to be toxic or harmful to the patient. And so through that discussion, this new TIR 122 was born. So that this TIR will focus on some of the fundamentals of how materials do or do not retain sterilant residuals, so different material types, also different attributes such as hardness or additives or stabilizers impact those materials' ability to either retain or not retain sterilant residuals. There will also be some new data that is we're working on generating to support this TIR that will be kind of all in one place. Like I said, relevant to materials and processes that are used today. So we're very excited about getting that work going.
Yeah, and tell me a little bit about this, the retention of sterilant residuals here. Are we talking about, oftentimes I'll hear we talk about the design of a device, say, oh, there's nooks and crannies that make it harder to clean out after a sterilization process, for instance. Is that what we're talking about here? Are we talking about the nature of the material itself? Does it have pockets? Is it, micro pockets, things like
Yeah, so
that?
it's a little bit more like basic level in terms of what is that material.
Okay.
All devices are obviously comprised of materials, but yeah, then this TIR would focus on specifically how those materials would retain residuals. So it is specific to the material properties.
Okay. It's interesting. And what kind of residuals are we talking about here? Is it steam sterilization, for instance, I would think, oh, okay, that's water. We want to dry it so we don't get biofilm, things like that. But that shouldn't be much of a concern. So where are we going with this?
Yeah, generally speaking, sterilization modalities do need to be validated as safe,
Hmm.
and it's a requirement. Some modalities have their own standards that specify what these residual limits are. Some of the newer sterilization modalities don't have a specific standard, but are required to do a risk assessment to determine the potential toxicity and safety of the device. And I'll be clear, this new TIR is not going to say anything about what is or is not safe.
Yeah,
That is a concern of the biological evaluation working group, and we will not touch that.
of course.
We are specifically focused on, the scope of Working Group 96, which is compatibility of materials. So like I said before, the new TIR will talk about, how specific materials do or do not retain sterilant residuals, but we will not be making any statements as far as what is or is not safe. That is up to the individual user.
No, that's great. And you know what? It comes down to, I'm glad you mentioned the individual user, because then it sounds like it's going to come down to this being a document that complements TIR17. If I'm designing a new device, I'm going to be wanting to reference TIR17 for materials compatibility, but also maybe I want to be thinking about what might retain residuals in that way as well. So thinking about those other factors to consider. Is that right? Are these two documents living next to each other?
Yeah, they are. That's a good way to put it, complementary. And one of the challenges with a document like TIR17, it has to be high level. It's not specific to any one device,
Sure.
but we want to be able to provide information that is as useful to the user as possible. And as we've gone through the revisions of TIR17, the question of toxicity and biocompatibility often does come up, and there's usually a debate. Well, how much belongs in TIR17 versus not?
Mhm.
There is a section in TIR17 that discusses biocompatibility generally, but this TIR122, I think, takes it another step specific to sterilant residual retention without, again, getting too specific to individual devices or specific levels of toxicity. So, yeah, I think saying the standards are complementary is a great way to put it.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, what are the next steps for that? Are you looking for new participants or anything like that?
Yeah, we're always looking for input on generating the TIR. We do have a couple of task groups that are working on sections around the fundamentals of residual retention, as well as a task group that's putting together that study that I mentioned. They have a plan together now, and they're looking for um, money and people to help execute that. So
Very
that's
cool.
moving ahead. But yeah, certainly if anyone watching has input or lab test equipment that could be used for that, we'd be definitely interested to talk to them.
Oh, absolutely fantastic. And if anybody who doesn't know how to participate in standards is curious about it and is interested in joining one of those task groups, you can email standards@aami.org and we will get you started. But Jamie, thank you for joining me today to tell me about your next steps. And also, we should be celebrating the hard work that your group has been doing. So, congratulations again for getting that technical committee award. And I guess keep up the good work.
Thanks a lot, Brian. It's great to be here. Keep going.
Awesome.